Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast with Becky Riddick from Participate in Riverside in town. This is an odd episode to listen back to because I kind of sound like Barry White. Listen to my voice now compared to back then when I recorded this, which was only a few weeks ago. I just finished Halloween at the prison, so my voice was like kind of gone. But you know, we got to keep going. So I did the episode, and it was a great episode, actually. The message is relayed through the episode, but I will maintain it. If you've got a few minutes to spare and you fancy just going for a nosy somewhere in town, pop your head into Participate. That's the third time of me trying to say that. It's quite a tongue twister. Pop your head into Participate. It's great. There's so many great things to look at. It doesn't matter what kind of art you're into. There's something for everybody's taste there. And I think it's a great project for the community, for everyone to kind of get involved and, you know, find something that might spark an artistic streak in you. I want to give a shout out to Planet Donut as well this week, who managed to sit down and record with me. I want to also apologise to Matt from Share Sophie, because we were supposed to sit down and for an interview on Wednesday, but obviously you may have seen from my social media I've not been very well. I've been overdoing it a bit, coming off night shifts and just sleeping. That's all I've been doing. But you know what, I've got a bit more energy now, and we're going to get these interviews done, ready for December. If anybody knows someone that would be great for this show, please give them my details, and just let them know I'd like to speak to them. We've got a lot coming on for January and February, because we've got the build up to the Darwin Festival, and then we've got the Darwin Festival. You may have seen these new posters I'm rolling out, just little teasers of what's coming for the show and for the town. But after then, I'm going to want to speak to all kinds of people in Shrewsbury, so let's get the ball rolling now, shall we? But yeah, episode number 4 coming at you right now. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. Excuse me for my voice being a bit shot. I was working at the prison last night, scaring a lot of people and doing a lot of shouting, so my voice is very raw today. Today I'm joined with Becky Riddick, who works at Participate, which is an amazing place in Riverside Mall. It's an art gallery, right?
It's an art gallery, but we also have studio spaces for artists and project spaces for everyone to come and enjoy.
This place blew my mind, and I don't know why I came into this place so late to look at interviews for the Biscuit, but this was one of the last places I came. I don't know why. I came here last time was last August, and I walked in here just on a whim, really. And this place blew my mind. There were so many amazing things going on. I've come here with my little boy. They had the lady that does the stacking of the milk caps.
Sarah Mai.
Yeah.
Yeah, plastic pixel art. She's very good.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was trying to build this really big tower, and my little boy, who was like 2 at the time, kept pushing it over. And I was like, "Don't make me beat you. Let's do this!" Like, he kept ruining it. But that was quite fun. We come to talk today about kind of art and in Shrewsbury. You're going to be our first artist on the show, so
wow.
Yeah.
I feel privileged.
Yeah, and it is a privilege to have you on the show as well, because it's a Sunday morning. It's absolutely tearing down with rain, and Becky's actually come and opened the place just so that we can talk. So I'm absolutely honoured for you to have done that for us.
It's great for you to be here.
You know, and yeah, I mean, this is what this show is designed to do. It's to take people like yourself. And just talk about what you guys do, you know, let people know, because I'm sure a lot of people walk past this building and not understand what's going on here. I mean, there's a giant art written in a big orange circle and what have you on the outside, but you know, it'd be great if people could understand the artists in here and come in and be like, oh, they've got an interesting story. I'd love to go and talk to them about that. So thank you very much. So tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? That's always an interesting question, isn't it? My name is Becky Riddick. I paint under the name of Rebecca Sarah. So a lot of people know me professionally by that.
Yeah.
I'm a mixed media artist, so I don't necessarily stick with one type of material. Yeah. I generally specialise in painting and emulsion printing, but I have used textiles, I have used found objects, I've used hypodermic needles, I've used coins, hair extensions, all sorts of weird and wonderful things that I find or collect on my travels and put back into the art.
Very creative. And I bet your eyes must dart everywhere as you're walking around looking for it. I bet you must be like, oh, that'd be interesting. Who would that be interesting?
Yeah. I've recently just had some broken safety glass shards delivered to me that's been given to me, which is actually going to go towards another project in the future. So, yeah, I'm always looking for new and interesting materials to work with.
That's fantastic. I mean, you see art in what other people may see as junk. Yeah, and
very much so.
That's great. Yeah, we've just been looking at your art now. I thought we'd make a point of going through some of your pieces before we sort of started talking. And yeah, your little section in this place is a treasure trove of all kinds of different things. Your textile works, your weaving, your paintings and things. It's amazing to see.
Thank you.
You know, it's really, really cool. So, like, what made you get into? Have you always been artistic? What made you get into this? You know?
Well, my mother, who I actually share a studio space with, is an artist. She was a lecturer at Shrewsbury School of Art for 29 years. I've always been a creative person, and a lot of my family are very creative as well. I didn't realise up until recently that my great-grandmother, Elizabeth Harris, actually had an invite to go to art school at the age of 14, but because of the circumstances, and she was a little old Victorian lady, there wasn't money and girls weren't educated in that way, and it didn't happen. So, but I mean, up until the day she died, she was knitting teddy bears and creating and doing things. And
it's crazy how much people were held back in them days, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
How liberating it must be to be able to go out and just express yourself how the hell you like.
You know? Yeah. I mean, my story sort of started when I was a kid. We didn't really have much money growing up because it was just me and my mother, mother and daughter. You know, we had extended family. We had my nan and that, but there was no, you know, brothers and sisters. There was no father around. And so to, you know, pass the time, we used to make and do.
That's crazy. That's really cool.
That's the way I've always been brought up, is if you want something, you make it. You don't necessarily have the money to go buy it, you make it. A lot of my clothes, all my school clothes were all made by my family, and a lot of my toys. And
it helps, I think. It helps you make you a better person. I believe so. I mean, if you've come from nothing and made something for yourself, I think it makes you you know,
definitely
gives you a bit of strength that you wouldn't have had if you'd have been given everything straight away, you know.
Yeah.
And it's great that you had that upbringing, because I mean, a lot of kids in that situation, you know, put in front of a TV or
absolutely,
you know, go outside and play, go and find a stick to run around with, you know.
Well, you know, there was a lot of outside playing as well. I had my bike and I had my friends up the street, a whole gaggle of girls that lived in the street, and we were always doing stuff together. But on a Saturday morning, my mum actually started running a little club for us girls in the street, where we all used to pile into the front room and get creative, making things,
that's really
stitching. Cool. We made like dormice from Alice in Wonderland toys and embroidered them. And when my friends used to come round on the one evening a week, we used to make bread. And, you know, not only did I always have a love of being creative on an artistic level, but also with food, which I didn't necessarily want to go into the art world when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I wanted to be a chef.
Oh, right, okay.
And I did do food technology and food and nutrition. I didn't do art at school. And it wasn't until after I left school, I had a very short stint at sixth form, which I loved the lessons. I really loved the lessons. I did religious studies. I did classics. I did design technology for a while until I switched to art. The only problem was I was a complete and utter failure at sixth form because I couldn't put anything down on paper. Writing to me was just horrendous.
Yeah.
So I'm just not academic in that way. I have been. I have written, some papers that were, they were all right. They were okay. But it's not in my nature. And I find painting and creating is actually a far more powerful communicator for myself.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with sort of being able to communicate who I am, and I know that I've never really fitted the mold in groups of friends, etc. a lot of the time, and this was my escape, I guess.
And escape being the right word, because I can imagine like on days where you just don't, I have days where I just don't want to deal with people. I think we all have those days. And it's great for you to be able to just get lost in your art, right?
Definitely.
Are they the best days or are they the worst days? How does that work?
Well, they can be amazing days, and sometimes they can be very mentally challenging. It just depends what it is that you're actually trying to create. A lot of my work comes from my own past experiences, my love of music, my love of food as well.
And do you know what? Some I know a few chefs who would say chefs are artists too.
Absolutely, they really are. They really are. After I left art school, I was actually engaged to be married and got married. Unfortunately, that didn't work out quite the way it should have.
As life can be.
As life can be.
Yeah.
But I started working in retail. Yeah. And I still work in retail. I've still got a part-time job. But for many years, I actually ran the fresh food counters up at Tesco in Holscott.
Okay. I'm Asda bread.
Well, I did actually work at Safeway first, and that got taken over by Asda. So I was under the Asda umbrella for a few weeks before I ran away screaming and crying and got a job in printing. So
less said about that, the better.
Yeah. but I loved my job working with food, and I was a trained fishmonger, and it was a wonderful experience, and I did
life experience. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. But thank you, Tesco, for actually making me redundant, because that gave me the opportunity to spread my wings and continue with my art.
And you know what I always say to people? I work with young people, and I say to people like, yes, these machines like Asda, like Tesco, like all these big companies, yes, they could be horrendous companies to work for. But I remember when I moved to Telford, I didn't know anyone. I had a bag of clothes. Sure. My mum put me up, But working in a place like that, I managed to find instantly, bam, 200 friends, people I can go drinking with. And some of these people are some of the best people I know today.
Absolutely.
One of the first people I started speaking to there was the godson of my boy. Was the best man at his wedding. That if any, and he gave me my wife as well. I met my wife at Asda. So in some crazy way, Asda is kind of my life.
Yeah, it happens that way. You kind of get institutionalized with working somewhere like that. And I've got so many friends that are still there, and I miss them. I do miss them every day. Yeah. But it's really great when you do actually get to see them and catch up with them. Yeah.
I was going to say, and we were talking about art school. Art school's got this kind of stigma, isn't it, of kind of the rebellion. You're not going to art school, you're going to be a doctor. Is that right? What was art school like?
Okay. Well, for me, it might have been a little bit different to other people, because I was in one room, and my mother was in the next room teaching her group.
Oh, okay.
And in my first year, my nan was even in there as well, in the other room. So there was actually 3 of us there at the same time.
What was that like? Was it teacher's pet, or was it the opposite?
No, probably actually the opposite. I had some amazing teachers. Graham, Maggie, and Peter Bishop, absolutely brilliant, that I really, really took to.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, they worked with my mum, they knew who I was, and I was always sort of felt, okay, am I only here because my mum's a teacher?
Yeah.
That was always my, you know, my big hang up. And in my first year, I could not have been any more supported. I really couldn't. Some of those teachers that were teaching me actually taught my mother. You know, they've been there that long.
Wow.
And I mean, there was other teachers there that, you know, you don't get on with so well, or they're a bit harder on you because they know who you are.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got there of my own merit. I managed to scrape a portfolio together.
Yeah.
For my interview to actually get in while I was still at sixth form.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I hadn't done the work to get in. It wasn't hey, you're Wendy's daughter, have a free pass.
Yeah.
At all. But there is always that kind of stigma of working alongside your mother, of going to the institution that she teaches at, and everybody knowing who you are, which is why when I paint, my work is signed Rebecca Sarah, not Becky Riddick. And like, everyone knows me as Becky Riddick, and that's fine. But it's quite difficult to carve out your own identity when you've got a relative that's already well known for doing what they're doing. Yeah.
So what came after you say you got made redundant from Tesco? What happened then with your art?
Well, I'd gone through quite a bad breakup just before I'd left Tesco with someone I'd been with for a very long time. And they actually moved quite close to me. So I saw them all the time still.
Ooh, that's terrible.
It was a very difficult time in my life. And I was actually very traumatized. And I started off with this one idea. I got 30 quid in a pot in the bedroom. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do with this 30 quid? So I actually went and bought myself some wooden jewellery boxes.
Okay.
And I'd never really stopped producing art all the time between leaving art school. But I'd never had the time for it to take over.
Yeah.
There was always something else, you know.
Have you got to do that though? Have you got to fully immerse yourself into it to be able to make something of it, or is it something you can just do on the side every now and again?
I think it's down to the person.
Yeah.
If you're going to be really serious about it, you kind of have to accept, okay, I'm never going to have a fast car. I'm never going to wear Gucci clothes. I'm never going to be shopping for my dinner every night at Waitrose. Yeah. You have to be prepared to give up a lot. You have to be prepared to sacrifice a lot, and you have to be prepared to kind of work really hard to get where you want to be. And I've always felt about 10 years behind the rest of the world because I didn't continue. I didn't go to university. Yeah. At the time, I became quite ill after my second year, after my uncle passing away. And life just kind of stopped and sort of went onto autopilot for a long time. So it was a sort of an unusual progression to be able to get to do what I wanted to do. But because I was suffering with trauma again, I bought these wooden jewellery boxes and I started painting these repeat patterns. My friend Lisa and my friends Lisa and Martin, they got married. They don't live in Shrewsbury anymore, but they came home to get married, and I wanted to make something for the wedding present. And I was told that Lisa was having a veil with Spanish lace on it. Okay. So I did this sort of black and white pop art portrait, and the background I sort of found some Spanish lace patterns and designs, and I painted the background with these patterns. And then the patterns then started taking a life of their own, and then parts of them would be used and other parts wouldn't, till I started creating my own patterns. And I found I don't know if it was self-therapy or something like that, but I was actually painting this pattern again and again and again, and decided to start putting it onto jewellery boxes. And then I thought, oh, yeah, they're all right. And then a couple of friends saw them and were like, oh, they're really nice. Can I have one? And I was like, what? You know? And they were like, yeah, no, we really, really want them. And all of a sudden, a £30 investment in jewellery boxes turned into me registering as being self-employed and, you know, really pushing myself, because actually knowing that I could do it and people wanted my work.
That's amazing. I mean, that's why every creator makes something so someone appreciates it, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, if it helps you get some money in the bank at the same time, I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's always a bonus, but you know, but my other half already jokes that I'm more famous and better off than Van Gogh is already, because I've sold far more work than he did when he was alive.
I'm pretty sure he didn't have Amazon and social media.
No, probably not.
That's really inspiring. I mean, look, we were talking about how you said yourself you were academically challenged with writing and things like that. But I think you find that some of the best artists out there, they reflect their kind of their knowledge of the world in art.
Yes.
And that's what I've just been seeing now. I mean, you've got some amazing pieces there. Talk us about Amy Winehouse. That is fantastic. Like, there's this amazing portrait of Amy Winehouse that Becky has. Where did that come from?
Okay, well, it was one of my sort of earlier pieces when I first started professionally painting. Because I was suffering with anxiety and trauma, I found it a lot easier to paint people's portraits who were or are famous at certain points in their life when they're feeling something that I feel too.
Yeah.
And it's almost like
it's a connection.
Yeah, but it's like I'm telling my story through a face that the public already recognise and know.
That's cool.
It's far easier, I've found over the years, to be able to evaluate other people's lives rather than your own. So the painting of Amy Winehouse came about. I was watching her Back to Black video, and when she's walking through the graveyard, and I screenshot her face on my iPad, and I decided that I wanted to do this portrait to show where she was at that point. But I mean, she'd already passed away by that time.
Yeah.
But I didn't think anything of it. I actually thought that it was a little bit cartoony, and I wasn't quite sure if I liked it or not.
Yeah.
But then everybody said, "That's great. That's amazing. That's something really special. It might not be completely anatomically correct, but that people have told me that it kind of holds a feeling that you can sort of see through her eyes."
Yes, it's amazing because Amy Winehouse, she was a tortured soul, wasn't she? I mean,
very much.
And you know, her music was amazing, and we were just talking about before we recorded about this music machine that just churns up people regardless of their emotions, and you know, tries to pump money out of them. But Amy Winehouse, she always seemed to show that kind of emotion on her face.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't have that charisma, that kind of that it girl kind of look. You could see how tortured she was, and I think you got that perfectly on that picture, and I think that's why people appreciate that. You know,
maybe they do. But
and it goes back to you saying that's how you felt at the same time. You know,
yeah,
it's really important, really important. So what happened with that painting then? Where did that go?
Well, one of the artists here called Phil Evans, he actually posted a video on Facebook of Amy singing an acoustic set, and I put a message on there saying how much I missed her, and then put a quick snap of that painting on, and someone from the Amy Winehouse Foundation actually spotted it and asked me if I could send a print down for her father Mitch, and and apparently his wife Jane is very fond of that painting. So apparently the prints that I sent hang in the offices at the Amy Winehouse Foundation.
That's fantastic.
So I feel very honoured just to have a small part of myself in there.
It's your contribution, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of people that kind of connect with Amy Winehouse to a certain level, and that's your contribution to that.
Absolutely.
And that's really fascinating. And, you know, there are so many pieces in your what do you call these sections?
They're all our individual studios.
Yeah, in your studio.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started walking around here with my card, hi, I'm from the Shrewsbury Biscuit. You want to come on my show? I got walked around and I got introduced to a lot of people. But with you, I felt like an instant connection. We started talking, and I started talking about my experiences at the Dana and how that's helped me. And you as well, you've got quite a connection with the Dana. I've just been going through all the amazing art you developed from that, and I think that's why I was like, oh, I need to speak to this lady. I need to speak to this lady. So yeah, let's talk us through that, because there's one piece that always grabs my eye, and I love it so much. What's your connection with the Dana? Tell everyone what's going on there.
Well, I had a relative who was staying at His Majesty's Pleasure for on and off for quite a while, and I used to write to him. He was my cousin. He's my second cousin, and I'm very fond of him. I won't say his name because, you know, it's up to him if he wants to tell people who he is. Yeah. He knows who he is if he's listening. But yeah, he had his issues, he had his troubles, and he was in and out of there quite regularly for a spell. Yeah. And I was writing to him, and, you know, he wrote back, and I adore him, and I still see him, and I adore him still. Yeah. And yeah, so it was quite strange. So when the prison first opened as I guess you could say, tourist attraction now, I had a relative that came to stay with me. So I said, you know, do you want to go do this? Go and have a look around. Didn't even really think much of it. But I took one of the letters with me from my cousin, and it had got this number on the top of it, which was his prison number. And then it had got another number, which was A311, which was his cell. And so I went round, but I didn't realise that's what the number was at the time until one of the guys who was giving the tour, which was actually a former prison warden, actually told me. Yeah. And so I actually got to go into his cell and spend some time there. And then when I told my mum that I'd been around the prison, she was like, oh, I want to go. So I had to go back again. That, you know, which was bonus for me. So I went again with my mother and did the same tour. And the guy who I'd spoken to did the tour again. It was the same tour guide, and he was like, I recognise you. And I said, yeah, and I've just started doing all these paintings. Oh, right. So I showed him some pictures, and he was quite interested in them. And then my friend Emma, who I actually met at Tesco and absolutely adore, she said to me when she found out that I'd been in the prison, she said, you know, they're doing nights where you can stay over and sleep in the prison. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'll go on. You know, you really want to. And I said, oh, I can't do it, Emma. I really can't do it. She goes, why? What's to be afraid of? And, you know, this girl's fearless. She doesn't have any prejudgments about anything. So she didn't know what to expect. She wasn't freaked out at all. Me, I was quaking in my boots. But I did make an agreement with her that I would go and spend the night in the prison as long as we got to sleep in cell A311. On the top bunk. So I actually slept in my cousin's bed.
That must have been very, very strange for you to share that same cell that he'd spent so much time in.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. But it was kind of comforting in a way, because it sort of felt like I wasn't alone in there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. I keep saying it's cool. That's interesting. That's what I should be saying. And that inspired you to do these amazing pieces of art, because They are amazing.
Thank you.
And I think they're your stronger pieces. I can't explain it, but I feel they do. Maybe it's because of my experiences at the prison. They kind of shout out to me.
Maybe.
I don't know if that's how art works. I'm not. I don't understand art per se. I'm trying to understand it now. You know, I mean, that everybody understands art to a degree, don't
yes.
they? You know, but I mean, that is why it stands out to me, I guess. You got this amazing piece where you've got the glass on the door and you've got somebody peeking through. That's fantastic. What was all that? What was that?
Well, me and Emma were walking around the A wing on the 4th floor, top level, and it was pitch black, and it was probably the best part of the early hours of the morning, somewhere maybe even 4 a.m. or something like that. And there was a husband and wife that were camping out in a cell. And they thought it would be really funny to keep their light off and then wait for somebody to walk past and then jump out at them and bang on the door, which absolutely scared the life out of me. It really did. But of course, the actual image came from a photograph I took of him laughing the other side of the door because he got us. But it because of the dirt on the glass and the reflection of the flash and, you know, the circumstances of the poor lighting, when I actually turned the image into a black and white print as opposed to a colour photograph, it kind of looked like he got 3 mouths and you couldn't really tell which side of his face he was looking with. So it kind of turned and developed into this very peculiar looking sort of monster behind the door.
Wow. Very interpretive. So how's it going with your gallery, with your studio? Are you selling a lot? Is it sustaining itself?
It sustains itself, yeah. As well as doing actual artwork, I run a lot of workshops. I was part of the summer school that we run here for 11 to 19-year-olds this summer. So I actually taught a class of my own, and I've run various workshops in the region. One of which was at Wrexham, at the Acton Resource Centre earlier on in this year.
I know Wrexham very well.
Yeah. Well, I got a lovely group of ladies and gentlemen up there who I did an emulsion printing workshop with. And I will be having a new exhibition very, very shortly. And some of their work will actually be included in it because they asked me to set them a challenge. So I've given them a bit of a project to do. And
do you meet people at these workshops where you're like, wow, you know, you can see like absolute talent in people, and you think these guys are going to be better than anyone I know?
Yes.
Yeah, but you see that quite a bit. I bet that's inspiring, right? You're helping these people develop their skills.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a formally trained teacher by any means, but I do run workshops. I teach them what I know, and I teach them the skills that I can pass on, and in a way that's really kind of it's great fun, but it is also quite wonderful to be able to pass the knowledge on to other people.
Yeah.
And I mean, people get inspired and bounce ideas off each other all the time, especially in Participate as well, when you've got so many artists working together in a small space. But well, not that small. It's actually quite big in here. But yeah, I mean, it is great, and you do see people with other talents as well that inspire you, so you can get just as much out of it as they can get from you.
And I think it's really important, and I wish I could, I can't say force the youth to get involved, but kind of just drag them in here and be like, just do something, because, you know, you see so many troubled souls in here. You know, there's kids that are used to being violent, or that they've lived the life of you know, what's the best way to put it? They're used to acting out with their mates.
Yeah.
You know, but they've got these skills. You know, there's people that are angry, and I say to people all the time, like, just do something with it.
Yeah.
You know, write, do music, draw something, because I think as soon as you, it reminds me of there's a scene in Harry Potter where they draw stuff out of people's heads with the wands, and I imagine like you putting a bit of your subconscious onto a page or onto a piece of music or something. It might just help you kind of level out a bit, you know.
It certainly helped me.
Yeah.
I wasn't exactly the best, most well-behaved child. Well, as a child, apparently, I was very cute and quiet and reserved. But as a teenager, I was a terror.
You were a rebel.
I was proper bad. Yeah.
What we're talking about in that sort of stance? Are we talking punk rock? Are we talking just bad behaviour? Are we talking boys? Are we talking what we talking here?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, all of that.
Yeah, got it in one. See.
Yeah. No, I mean, I never did anything completely reckless to hurt anybody else. I was just very good at upsetting and hurting myself, I think.
Going with the flow and making the bad mistakes that we all tend to. Are you from Shrewsbury originally?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, my mother's family, all from Shrewsbury. But when my mum had me, she was married and living in Worcester. But it didn't last long, so she brought me home. I was only a baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, you could pretty much well say I'm 95% Shrewsbury born and bred.
Yeah, I've heard that quite a bit. I mean, I interviewed Simon Bell, who's an author, and he was like, I'm a Salopian. I came here when I was young and I wouldn't see myself living anywhere else. And that's why I did this show, is to understand why people get drawn here and never want to leave, because I feel the same. You know, I'm not from Shrewsbury, but I absolutely love this place, you know.
It's a beautiful town.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, yourself and everybody here who participate are helping the community, whether it's through inspiration, through the workshops you do, and I think the town owes you, quite a good debt, because I just wish we can get more people in here. When are the busiest sort of times here? When do you get this place full on people? You know?
We always have exhibitions here. So the front of the building is open Tuesdays to Saturdays 11 till 5, unless we are closed to swap over and hang an exhibition. But the first Saturday of the month, we have open studios where you can actually come and walk around the building, and artists will be working in their space, and they will open their doors to you, and you can go in, have a look, and actually meet and interact with the artists while they're doing their thing, which is, it's great, especially if you're an art student in the town and you want to have the communication with working artists in your local area.
Yeah.
We also have a repair cafe as well here, which is on the third Saturday of every month, where you can actually bring in anything that's broken at home, and we've got a great team of people who will come and fix it for you for a small donation, and there's usually some lovely hot food going as well at the same time, so you can always stick around and have a nice big bowl of soup.
What's the guy's name that does all the science fiction stuff? I met him.
Ruben Armana.
I don't know why I always forget his name. It's about, because I'm such in awe of this guy. I remember coming here at the science fiction Star Wars exhibition here. He was a great guy. I love this place. I know, I'd love to do more shows here. Have you had many sort of famous artists come here and hang up an exhibition to draw people in, or was it just local?
We've mainly had local artists come in to put shows on, but we do get a lot of outside artists come in and do artist talks. So on the first Saturday of the month, as well as having open studios, usually around 2:00 in the afternoon, dependent on the artist, we actually get people in from all over the country to come in and talk about their work.
Oh, that's good.
So you can actually come in and have a free lecture with somebody. Sometimes we only get a few people in. Sometimes it's really busy. But it does depend, they all do completely different things. We had a very good talk not so long ago by a guy from sort of the Birmingham area who did sort of performance art.
Oh, wow.
And, we have loads of great talent in the area and in the country as well, and we're trying to bring as much as we can of it to our local area.
I saw this is just a complete 90-degree segue out here, but I saw this great piece in the news recently about Banksy.
Yeah, I've been talking about that with my mother.
So he had this piece that sold for £1.1 million, and as soon as the deal was done and the money had gone through, it shredded itself.
Absolutely.
What do you think about this? Because I think it's fantastic.
I think it's brilliant. I really, really do. Banksy's one of those artists who some people either get or you really don't.
Yeah.
But everything I've seen of his, I love. People think that street artists are kind of menaces who just go around destroying stuff, but actually you find that when you get to the point where people are cutting out pieces of wall just to try and preserve his work, there's really something quite wrong with society.
See, Banksy is amazing because he's an anarchist, but he's an anarchist that cares. He talks about things that really do matter. I mean, one of my favorite pieces is the girl. Is it the girl, the guy throwing the bottle of flowers?
The flower bomber.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I've actually got that on a jar at home, and a kitchen jar with rice in it, and it's got a picture of the flower bomber on the front, which I love.
That's great. So, like, speaking about like people like Banksy, is there an artist out there that inspires you, or it doesn't have to be out there now? I mean, a lot of famous artists have come and gone. Is there anybody that inspires you?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, you would get inspiration from all around you, and I get inspired by the people I work with, as well as the big sort of mad grandmaster names. But I suppose, I mean, I saw an exhibition a few years ago at the Royal Academy of David Hockney, and the colours and the landscapes are just incredible, and the size and the sheer scale of his work is something pretty special. I love Banksy. I do love Banksy. But I remember when I was in New York when I was about 18, I went to this one art gallery, and they got all this, wonderful masters, and they got this Van Gogh painting that was kind of in a room on its own, and it was so crowded with tourists I couldn't actually see it. I couldn't get anywhere near it. And I've never been in an art gallery where anyone has done this for me before, but there was this huge, tall, black American security guy standing there, and he actually moved a chair for me to be able to stand on it so I could see over the people. Now, I've got in trouble before in Paris when I've been drawing in places like the Louvre, when I've tried to sit down on the floor just to sketch something, and they've gone, no, get up. And I've never had an experience where somebody's actually moved a chair so I can stand on it before, just to see a painting. And it was worth it. It really was. It was breathtaking.
I mean, I'm a fan of like history and things. So, I mean, I've been to Venice, I've been to Bruges, seen some amazing things. And you go to see like the Madonna, for example, and you go see that, and it's just crowds of people around, and it's really hard to go and see. And it makes you hate people a little bit more, doesn't it? Like, it's like, well, what about the way I want to see? I mean, I don't know if it's because they were taught in school, but I'm a big fan of Dali. I love Dali and Geiger. I think that's his Geiger. I love intricate pencil work. I think it's amazing, and he's like one of the best. I mean, I like the old Asterix comics and things with all the detail, and I love things like that. So where we go from here? What do we do now? What's the future hold for Becky?
Wow. Well, I've got this new exhibition coming out. Tuesday the 23rd of October it starts, which is actually here at Participate Contemporary Art Space in the Riverside Shopping Centre, so please come along. This is the polar opposite of my last exhibition, all about Shrewsbury Prison, where it was all about containment and the containment of life. This is just straight out there. This is running around the world, the celebration of travel and being able to get out and do stuff.
The Sound of Music, yeah. That's dancing in the hills.
The hills are alive, yeah, possibly. Well, about 2 years ago, I sold my car and bought a VW camper.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of this exhibition is landscapes and views of places that I've seen locally.
Wow.
And we've got paintings from Bala Lake. We've got Carding Valley.
Oh, I love that. Two of my favourite places. I love Barlow. It just disappears, doesn't it, over the horizon. And then Carding Valley is just miles of just
Absolutely. Welsh coastline. But then I've also got work from my holidays abroad as well. So I'm really excited about the work that I've done on Greece, because I had this amazing holiday just over a year ago to Corfu. I went to stay in Akaravi in the north, and it was just the most beautiful place I've ever seen. Some
amazing colours there, right?
Oh, stunning. Absolutely stunning. And then this year, I've only just got back sort of in the last week or two. I went to Turkey.
Oh, right. Okay.
And with Turkey, I didn't like it so much as I did Greece, I'm afraid. But we did get to spend the day in Rhodes, which was really wonderful. And also, there is, next to where we were staying, there was a ghost town, or what is referred to as a ghost town, but it's actually called Kayakoi. And Kayakoi was a Greek settlement in Turkey up until the early 1920s, sort of 1922, 23, when they had a population change.
Okay.
And a lot of the Greeks were kicked out of Turkey and sent home, and a lot of the Turks were sent back to Turkey from Greece. And this town was sort of built, I believe that the settlement was as old as about 3,000 years. But I mean, the houses that were there at that point were not that old. But the whole town has just been like completely left abandoned and to rot. It got looted apparently when it was first abandoned, and it has suffered a couple of earthquakes, I believe, as well. So there's just fragments of walls.
What an amazing atmosphere.
Yeah, it was just incredible. Which I've brought back a few little bits that I found, because as well as having all the paintings, I'm a massive treasure hunter. So I've been collecting bits of broken china and coins and stones and all sorts of weird and wonderful things on my travels. Which actually, that's probably my other arse fault, because he used to be a labourer, and he's recently changed his jobs, but he's always been one for sort of pulling things out of the ground that he finds.
I'll keep that for later.
Usually bits of broken bottle and china,
natural glass.
And
things like that,
yeah. So as well as a lot of the paintings of the places that I've been to, then there are fragments of the places that I've been to as well. So I've actually bought parts of the world home, if you like.
So what was the date of that exhibition again?
It starts on Tuesday the 23rd of October, and it runs until November the 10th, and it's Tuesday to Friday, 11 till 5. Okay,
well, I think this show is going to go out I was going to put it out on the 10th to try and get people in. But, is that going to be up in your studio continuously, or is it just then? Or
it's not going to be in the studio. It's actually going to be in the whole of this front exhibition space.
Okay.
So it's going to be quite a big. But
if you're listening to this after the exhibition, make sure you come speak to Becky about it. I'm pretty sure she can help you out with showing you a few pieces or talking about what we're talking about.
Absolutely, the work is not going anywhere. It will be in my studio after the exhibition.
Absolutely,
itself.
And that's what I love about this place is everyone is so friendly, so open. And when I first came in, it's really hard to try and walk in with a business card and be like, "Hi, can I talk to you about the Shrewsbury?" But you look like a businessman. People are like, and you got like 5 seconds to sell yourself quickly, otherwise get told to do one. But straight away, people are like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." So I got, everybody's so friendly. So people, if you listen to this, pop your head in and speak to people, because they're very, 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 very welcoming. So, I've got a question here that I always ask people. What do you like to do to distract yourself from this? But I guess this is the distraction, isn't it? Or do you sometimes need to put everything aside from, with me, with podcasting, sometimes it's nice to just, it's like I guess taking off your shoes. Sometimes it's nice to just switch off social media, put the mic down for one side and just sit and do nothing. Is it the same for artists?
I think it differs from person to person. I work part-time as well in retail. I got a 20-hour job. So, you have that as well. So sometimes the art can be a distraction from real life.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you need a distraction from the distraction. And recently I've been doing an awful lot of crocheting at home in front of the telly. But I love music. Music is like one of my passions in life. Cooking is one of my passions in life. I mean, even though I never took it up professionally, as a chef, I still love cooking. And a film as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I kind of go in phases. I mean, sometimes I'll go through like a comic book phase. I'll sit and I'll just read comic books till early hours of the morning. Sometimes I'll be music. I've always been music. I love my music.
Yes.
But sometimes I'll be like into my movies. Sometimes podcasts. I'll like save up a load of podcasts to listen to. You know, it goes in waves for me. And so I get that. You know. Have you got something that you'd like to? I suppose we've already covered. Your other exhibition, but is there anything else you'd like to plug? Anything you'd like to try and say? Maybe it's participate or, you know.
Well, after my exhibition finishes on November the 10th, I believe we're going to be having a group exhibition for the Christmas period.
Okay.
You will be allowed to come in and purchase. So if you've got anything that you're particularly looking for a Christmas present that you can't find, please pop in and have a look or have a word with one of our artists, because we do all take commissions as well.
Well, wife, if you're listening to this, wife, I've already told Becky about a small piece that I really want to own, so bear that in mind, please.
Yeah, come and say hello.
What would you say to anyone that's aspiring to go into art, whether it's someone that's in art college already or somebody that hasn't been to art college? Is it something that you can just do, or do you need that education, or just do it? I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've done over the years is all self-taught. You don't have to have a formal education to be creative. There are a lot of people, a lot of talented people out there who have not been to art school, who have not had the opportunity to have a go. And all I can say to you is come on down and have a go. We're always running workshops around here. We're actually, we joined a sort of a movement called the Big Draw, which is going on this month as well, where you can actually pop in and come and have a go with one of our artists. The Big Draw is sort of led by our artist Phil Evans. But we will be running workshops over. So what happens there then? Do you supply the stuff, or do you have to bring your own stuff?
No. It's all here ready for you. You just
really
have to turn up and have a go. It's like a national event that we've sort of coincided with, and it's really worth coming down and just, if you want to try something out, if you want to speak to one of our artists, or if you've got an idea that you don't know how to progress with, it's always worth coming down and having a chat with someone. Well, if we don't know, or if we haven't got a person here who does that particular skill, the chances are we know somebody who does.
Yeah.
So it's always worth coming in and asking. Never let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. I myself have suffered with a condition with my eyes, which is why I developed my emulsion printing part. So I work from photographs, because I've got an issue with my eyes. I can't actually see through both eyes at the same time. So to see distance, angles, that sort of thing, it really doesn't work for me.
Depth perception is a bit off. Yeah,
very much so. I mean, I could draw you a lovely eye, and then I could draw you a lovely another lovely eye and a nose, and then I'll step back at it and think, oh dear, I've just drawn a monster, because they're not even in the right place. So, there are means and ways of being able to get around shortcomings or a lack of ability. I mean, we do actually have a group here who come every Friday morning, Art Studio 1, that's run by Tanya Ray Webber. And that's an art club for people of all abilities as well. So, we do a lot here for the wider community. And we try and get everybody involved. That is why we're called Participate, because we want people to come and participate. Not only are we here to sort of promote our own work and our own shows and what we're doing, but we actually want people to come and join in.
It's a thing of beauty, and that's why I'm in awe of this place. And like with you saying about, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Don't let yourself tell you either, because
that's the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, because Becky's an example of how art can help with anxiety and depression, and that's, like you said, that's a huge hurdle to go through. Sometimes just sitting there and putting what you're feeling onto a piece of paper, and just even if it makes one person smile, even if it makes yourself feel better, it's worth giving it a go. So if you do come walking past this place at Riverside and you've never been in here, just pop your head in, just come and have a look, because I'm looking around now and there are all kinds of different things around here that you can have a look at,
Absolutely.
And even if you just like science fiction, Ruben is great. If you like all kinds of different textures and feelings, and Becky's, you get, so there's so many people here. How many artists do you have like here at the moment?
I know that there's over 20 of us that actually work in the building. Some of us have got our own studios. Some of us work in other people's studios. And I actually started off here as a mentored artist. I wasn't classed as a full-time artist. I was on a mentoring scheme, and I did 3 years mentoring as a mentored artist before I actually became a proper participate artist. So I actually started from scratch right at the beginning.
Yeah, that's kind of expected, though, isn't it? But you got there, you did it.
I did, and I'm very proud of what I have achieved over the last few years, and I'm very proud of what we've all achieved at Participate as well. And it's going from strength to strength. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, hopefully, I know that eventually they are going to be knocking down a Riverside Centre. There's always that, how long have we got here? But as a CIC, a community interest company, which is what we are hoping to, after Riverside, we are hoping to continue with what we've already got going.
Well, I hope so too, and I think hopefully this show will go out and generate a lot of interest, and we can rally around and sort you out. I was going to say something and I completely forgot. It's funny how that happens with podcasting.
I have got a future project lined up.
You have?
I have.
Ooh, tell us about it.
Well, it's not really been up for discussion yet, as in it won't be started until January. However, my mother and I have decided that because we've had a relative of ours, my mother's cousin, has been writing our family tree, we've decided to use some of the information that we've got from our family tree and actually do an exhibition, hopefully within the next 2 years, called DNA, which is all going to be including
Sounds interesting.
People in our family, people we are related to, famous ones, infamous ones,
wow.
Not so famous ones.
People don't realise, do they, until they actually have a look who they're kind of related to.
No, and I believe surprises. You me, I was very shocked and surprised.
Yeah. I got a friend, I wouldn't say his name, but a friend who found out he was actually related to the Royal Executioner.
Wow.
And his actual surname is of that title, so it was just crazy. There's no denying it, But yeah, one last question before we go. What does Shrewsbury mean to you?
Oh gosh, Shrewsbury's home. Shrewsbury is home. I've lived here as long as I can remember. I've grown up here. I've gone to school here. I've got married here. I've got divorced here. I've, had great times. I've had bad times. And my family is very important to me. And I have got, or did have, one of the largest ones in the county. Since my great nan passed away many, many years ago, then obviously doesn't count anymore because it gets broken into the next generation down. But it's home, good things happen here, bad things happen here all the time. I think it's a shame that the town is starting to flail. Well, it has been flailing for a while. with, you know, smaller businesses but we've had great opportunities here of taking over empty shops and turning them into something. But I just want to see a bit more life and have people stop buying stuff off Amazon and eBay all the time and actually start supporting your local artists and your local businesses, because the people in this town do really matter.
Huge passion of mine, and that's why we created the biscuit, is to try and give people a bit of a boost, you know, even if it's just a little one. We're going to take you guys and we're going to take you from down here and put you up here, because this show is going to be the most listened to podcast in the whole world.
Absolutely. Of course it is.
Well, thank you very much, Becky.
You're more than welcome.
You've been an amazing guest. Thank you for opening up as well and coming walking through the rain, opening up this place, showing me your artwork, making me a great cup of coffee is what's got me through the show, because my throat is starting to die again, you know? And hopefully we'll be able to do something again in the future. You know,
Absolutely.
I'd love to have you on. You know, we got more than 2 mics, so maybe we can get you and a couple of other artists in here, and we can have a good gingangooly, as they say. But thank you very, very much.
You're more than
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
Guys, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to give this show a like and a share and a subscribe. Give us some love, because at the same time, you're giving Shrewsbury some love. So a bit of emotional blackmail for you there. Make sure you check out our social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at the Shrewsbury Biscuit Podcast. On Twitter, we're the Shrewsbury B1, because I couldn't quite fit our name into it. So I just don't know. It's the Shrewsbury B1. That may change, but that's our Twitter. Thank you very much, Becky. Thank you much, everyone. Make sure you tune in next week. Thank you. Peace out.